That's when the real foundation of success shows itself. Your habits, your habits are the backbone of everything you achieve in life. They are the quiet engine running in the background, pushing you forward or holding you back, depending on what you've installed in your daily routine. Um, Think about it. The fittest person you know didn't get there by working out once in a while. The most financially secure people didn't build wealth by saving or investing once a year when they felt like it. The people with the deepest, most meaningful relationships don't show up for their loved ones only when it's convenient. They all have one thing in common. They build habits that align with their goals, and they do them consistently, not just when they're in the mood. We live in a culture that glorifies the highlight reel. Social media shows us the achievements, the awards, the celebrations, but it rarely shows us the countless, often boring repetitions that came before. What you do consistently when no one is watching is far more important than what you do when the spotlight is on. That's why success is not an event, it's a habit. You become successful long before the world recognizes you as successful. It's in the early mornings you get up to work on your craft. Serve! It's in the time you take to read, learn, and grow when others are wasting hours on distractions. It's in the way you handle small promises to yourself. Do you show up for your morning walk? Do you practice discipline with your money? Do you give your best at work every day, even when no one is praising you? Another important truth is that consistency beats intensity. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. You don't need to work 16-hour days or adopt a dozen new habits all at once. You just need to pick one or two things that matter and practice them consistently. Over time, the compounding effect of those habits is what creates extraordinary results. This is why it's so critical to focus on the process, not just the outcome. If you focus only on the goal, the promotion, the weight loss, the big win, you'll likely burn out or get discouraged when results don't come fast enough. But if you fall in love with the process, if you commit to the daily habits, you'll stay in the game long enough to see those results show up. At the end of the day, success isn't reserved for the most talented, the most connected, or the luckiest. It's reserved for those who make a commitment to small, powerful habits and stick to them day after day, rain or shine. That's the true magic behind lasting. It's the true magic behind lasting success. One of the most important truths about success is this. Your current habits are perfectly designed to create the results you're getting right now. This can be a tough pill to swallow, but it's also incredibly empowering once you understand it. If you look at any area of your life, your health, your relationships, your finances, your career, and you're not happy with the results, it's not because life is unfair or you're destined to stay stuck. It's because the habits you've been practicing up to this point have led you exactly where you are. And the best part is, if you want different results, you have the power to change your habits and over time, change your life. It's easy to blame outside circumstances when things aren't going well. Maybe you tell yourself you just don't have good genetics for fitness, or that you weren't born into a wealthy family, or that you're just unlucky in love or work. But when you shift your perspective and realize that habits, not fate or luck, are running the show, you step into a place of responsibility and power. If your current financial habits are spending more than you earn, avoiding savings, and living without a plan, then the result will naturally be financial stress or struggle. If your current health habits involve skipping exercise, eating without intention, and not prioritizing sleep, the result will reflect that, though. But the good news is, the opposite is also true. If you install and practice habits that move you toward the outcomes you want, the results will eventually follow. It's important to remember that change doesn't happen overnight. And this is where many people get frustrated. They try to change their results without changing their habits. For example, someone might want to lose weight, so they crash diet for 2 weeks. Or they want to make more money, so they take on a new side hustle, but don't change their spending patterns. But without shifting the underlying habits, any change they experience is temporary. Long-term transformation comes from addressing the root behaviors, not just chasing quick fixes. This is why your habits matter so much. They are the invisible architecture shaping your life. Take a moment to reflect on the results you're experiencing today. Are you proud of them? Are they aligned with the life you truly want? If not, don't fall into the trap of thinking you're broken or incapable. You simply need to install new patterns that will carry you to better results. That might mean adopting a morning routine, improving how you communicate with others, building discipline around your finances, or committing to regular movement and exercise. Small shifts, repeated consistently, will compound over time. The most successful people aren't the ones who got lucky. They're the ones who realize that success is a system, and that system is built on habits. They continuously upgrade their habits to align with the outcomes they want. The truth is, you have that same ability. You have the power to look at your life honestly, identify the habits that no longer serve you, and choose to replace them with better ones. It won't always be easy, but it will always be worth it. Because when you change your habits, you change your future. Your future. When people think about improving their lives, they often get overwhelmed by the idea that they have to make massive sweeping changes overnight. But real, lasting change doesn't come from giant leaps. It comes from small, consistent steps that build momentum over time. This is why starting small and stacking habits is one of the most powerful strategies you can use to transform your... Think about it like this. You don't get strong from going to the gym once for 5 hours. You get strong from showing up consistently, even if it's just for 20 or 30 minutes a day. The same principle applies to every area of your life, whether it's health, career, finances, relationships, or personal growth. It's the small, seemingly insignificant actions repeated day after day that create remarkable outcomes over time. For example, if you want to develop a gratitude practice, you don't need to write a 5-page journal entry every night. You can start by simply writing down 1 or 2 things you're grateful for each morning. That 5-minute habit, when practiced consistently, begins to shift your mindset toward positivity. Over time, you'll naturally find yourself noticing and appreciating more good things in your life without even having to think about it. That's the power of stacking small habits. In the beginning, it's normal to feel impatient. You might not see immediate results, and you may be tempted to give up or think it's not working. But this is where you need to trust the process. The results from small habits don't appear overnight, but they do appear if you stay consistent. This is the concept of compound growth, the idea that small improvements, repeated over time, multiply into massive change. It's the same principle that makes investments grow or knowledge expand. When you stack small wins on top of each other, they create momentum, and that momentum can change your life in ways you can't predict at the start. Another reason small habits work so well is that they help you avoid burnout. So many people set huge goals and push themselves too hard in the beginning. They go all in for a few weeks, exhaust themselves, and then give up when they can't sustain that pace. But when you start small, you make the habit easy to integrate into your daily life. You're less likely to burn out, and you're more likely to stick with it long enough to see real results. Over time, once a small habit becomes part of your routine, you can naturally build on it. A 5-minute walk turns into a 10-minute jog. Reading a page a day turns into finishing a book every month. Saving a small percentage of your income builds into a healthy financial cushion. The key is to focus on consistency, not intensity at the start. It's also important to celebrate your progress along the way. Recognizing even small wins reinforces your sense of accomplishment and motivates you to keep going. Every step forward matters, no matter how small it seems. Success isn't about making one big move. It's about making small moves every day and trusting they will lead you to where you want to go. So remember, you don't need to transform your life overnight. Start small, stack your habits. Trust small, stack your habits. Trust the compound effect. And over time, you'll look back and realize just how far you've come. Many people believe that success is all about sudden bursts of motivation or raw talent. They think champions rise to the occasion when the pressure is on, that they magically perform at their peak when the lights are brightest. But the truth is much simpler and far more powerful. Winners don't just rise to the occasion. They fall back on the level of their preparation. When the moment comes, they rely on the habits, routines, and discipline they've built long before anyone was watching. Anyone was watching. This is what separates people who achieve extraordinary things from those who fall short. The ability to practice their habits day after day, even when they don't feel motivated. Motivation is a wonderful tool to kickstart action. There will be days when you wake up excited and driven, but there will also be days when you're tired, stressed, or unmotivated. If you only act when you feel like it, you will be wildly inconsistent. Champions understand this. They know that the key to success isn't about being perfect on your best days. It's about showing up even on your worst days. That's why habits matter so much. They carry you through the highs and the lows. Think of athletes preparing for a big competition. They don't rely on a last-minute surge of inspiration. They build strength, skill, and resilience through countless hours of practice, often doing the same drills over and over. The world only sees the final performance, but the real work happened far away from the cameras. The same applies to musicians, entrepreneurs, artists, and anyone striving for excellence. It's not glamorous. It's often repetitive, tiring, and sometimes frustrating. But that preparation is what builds the foundation for success when it matters most. There's also a mental toughness that comes from disciplined preparation. And this isn't just about grand achievements or public victories. In everyday life, the people who thrive in stressful moments are usually the ones who have built steady habits behind the scenes, whether it's managing their time well, keeping promises to themselves, or taking care of their mental and physical health. Another powerful part of preparation is that it builds identity. When you consistently practice a habit, it becomes part of who you are. You stop thinking, I should work out, and start seeing yourself as someone who trains regularly. And you stop saying, I need to save more money, and start seeing yourself as someone who is financially responsible. Identity-based habits are incredibly strong because they no longer rely on willpower. They're simply how you live. And when you're rooted in that identity, you can handle challenges with greater resilience and grace, and grace, and grace. So the next time you think about success, remember it's not about dramatic effort in one big moment. It's about the quiet work, the preparation, and the habits you build day after day. Champions don't depend on luck or inspiration. They depend on the systems they've created for themselves. You don't have to wait for motivation to strike. Build the right habits, practice consistently, and you'll be ready when your moment comes. One of the most powerful steps you can take towards success is developing the ability to honestly examine your current habits, to recognize which ones are lifting you up and which ones are lifting you up, and which ones are holding you back. Most people go through life on autopilot, repeating the same routines every day without really thinking about whether those routines are helping them reach their goals. But here's the truth. If you want to create meaningful change, you must first become aware of the habits that no longer serve you and deliberately choose the ones that will push you forward. Self-awareness is the foundation of all growth. You cannot change what you don't first recognize. It starts with asking yourself some simple but profound questions. What are the daily actions or patterns that keep me stuck? Maybe it's hitting the snooze button repeatedly, procrastinating on important tasks, eating mindlessly, or spending hours on social media. Social media? These small actions may not seem harmful in the moment, but over time, they accumulate and shape the course of your life. The other half is choosing what will pull you forward. What habits, if practiced consistently, would create momentum in your life? Maybe it's waking up 30 minutes earlier to exercise or meditate, setting aside time each day for focused work without distractions, practicing gratitude, or reading a few pages of a book that helps you grow. The key here is not to try to overhaul your life all at once, but to pick just one or two keystone habits that will have the biggest impact and start there. The reason identifying and replacing habits is so effective is because habits operate at a deeper level than most people realize. They don't just control your actions. They shape your identity and the way you see yourself. When you break free from negative patterns and start practicing positive ones, you begin to shift your sense of who you are. You go from someone who says, I'm always late, to someone who values punctuality. You go from I'm bad with money to I'm becoming financially responsible. This shift in identity fuels even more positive change because your behavior starts to align with the person you believe yourself to be. It's also important to remember that you don't need to get it perfect from day one. Change is a messy, non-linear process. You will slip up sometimes. That's normal. The point is not to aim for perfection, but to aim for progress. Each time you consciously choose a new, better habit over an old, limiting one, you are rewiring your brain, building discipline and creating momentum. Over time, these small victories add up. And the compound effect takes over, leading to big results. Finally, surround yourself with people, environments, and systems that support the habits you want to build. It's much easier to let go of habits that no longer serve you when you have accountability, when you set up your environment to reduce temptation, and when you regularly remind yourself of your bigger vision. Change becomes sustainable when it's supported by both internal commitment and external reinforcement. So take the time to pause, reflect, and honestly ask, which habits are dragging me down and which ones will lift me up? The answers to these questions will point you toward the path of transformation and help you design a life that is aligned with your highest potential. One of the most empowering truths about life is that you are the architect of your own future. And the habits you build are the raw materials you use to design that future. Every single day, whether you realize it or not, you are laying bricks. Small actions, choices, and routines that come together to form the structure of your life. That's why it's so crucial to be intentional about the habits you choose to develop. You have the power to shape your destiny, not through occasional bursts of effort, but through consistent, purposeful actions that align with the person you want to become. Many people underestimate the influence of habits because they seem small in the moment. It's easy to dismiss the impact of one healthy meal, one workout, or one focused work session. It's equally easy to dismiss the harm of skipping the gym just today, procrastinating on an important task, or overspending just this once. Overspending just this once. But over time, these repeated actions create patterns, and those patterns become your life. That's why living intentionally is so important. You are not just drifting through life, passively reacting to what happens around you. You are creating the blueprint for your future with every choice you make. The beauty of this truth is that it puts the power back in your hands. So does drifting through life. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment, the right opportunity, or permission from anyone else to start shaping the life you want. You can start right where you are with what you have by changing your daily habits. Whether you want to improve your health, grow your business, strengthen your relationships, or develop yourself personally, it all begins with the small steps you commit to each day. And the most extraordinary part, you don't need to make dramatic. You don't need dramatic, sweeping changes to create meaningful progress. Even the smallest shifts, practiced consistently, can set off a chain reaction of growth and improvement. It's also important to understand that building an extraordinary life isn't about achieving some final destination or reaching perfection. It's about the ongoing process of becoming. When you focus on cultivating habits that reflect your values and vision, you are constantly evolving into a better version of yourself. You begin to experience a deep sense of pride and fulfillment, not just because of the results you achieve, but because of the person you are becoming in the process. This sense of ownership over your life creates a kind of inner strength and resilience that can carry you through any challenge. Of course, the journey of building good habits and creating an intentional life isn't always easy. You will face setbacks, doubts, and moments of resistance. But when you stay connected to your bigger purpose, when you remind yourself of why these habits matter and who you are working to become, you find the motivation to keep going. And over time, those new habits become part of your identity. Voilà! You stop having to force yourself to make good choices because those choices become second nature. In the end, the life you create is a result of the habits you consistently practice. You hold the pen in your hand. You write the story. So be bold in your vision. Be intentional with your habits. And remember that you have the power to design an extraordinary life. One small, consistent action at a time,